This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV in association with MTK Global, joined by Andy Lee. Just had obviously Paddy Donovan in here, got in separate interviews, but he seems like he's got his head screwed on, Andy.
Yeah, and he's a good kid to be around. He's learning on his feet when in terms of interviews and being interviewed, and I'm not sure if his full personality comes across in interviews because he's a bit wooden. I think he's a bit nervous to not say the wrong thing, but he's a lovely kid to be around, and it's a pleasure to train him.
What's he like in private?
He's a bit of a jokester, a bit of a messer, a little bit. But he's like, he's one of those. As I said, he's one of those talents that he has. I didn't want to say too much. I did say a lot for him, but he's got the X factor, and you can't put your finger on it. What makes him so good? But he's always able to find a punch or an angle or some little thing that'll separate him from what I've seen in fights and in sparring, and that usually ends up with him winning the spar or fight.
Well, yeah, fantastic to be on the same bill as the likes of Carl Frampton and Michael Conlon this Saturday as well.
Yeah, I pushed hard to get him on there, and I actually had a lot of help from Jamie Conlon as well, so I have to give him a shout out. Because I knew this was the best card coming out of lockdown, and Paddy could. But I think they would have got Paddy a fight, but no disrespect to the other cards, but it was great to have Paddy on this card. With two of Ireland's best fighters, Carl Frampton and Michael, who will go on to be hopefully one of the best fighters, and then Paddy can follow in their footsteps, and be the next one. Even though he's a good few years away from that yet, but he's learning and growing with every passing day.
We'll tune into BT Sport this Saturday night to see all three Irishmen in action. Just moving away from this card, Andy, let me just get your thoughts on Tyson Fury. Have you spoken to him recently? Yeah,
I speak to him maybe once every couple of weeks or so, maybe a couple of times in a week. He'll just FaceTime me, he doesn't he doesn't do texts, he doesn't do calls, he just FaceTimes you. And no matter what you're doing, you could be in your bathroom brushing your teeth and you get a call. But he's in great spirits, as you've all seen if you follow him on social media. He's in great spirits, and he's just waiting to fight. And nobody really knows. I can't think anyone really knows when that might be. There's been some. If a big fight can't happen with a crowd, then there's been some talk about him fighting behind closed doors, which would be great to see. And I think he'd want that because he likes to stay active. He's an active fighter. He's a good fighter.
Have we even seen the best of him yet?
Well, it's I don't know. I think I don't know if this is going to be his new permanent style, but the style he took and adapted for Wilder, we were just basically scratching the surface with that. It was just he hadn't even grasped it fully yet, And once you get that, you can build on that. Like with anything, first you have to learn the fundamental, like you have to learn the fundamentals and the basics, and then you'll fully get the essence of it. You'll find out when things become instinctual. He'll see ways, like things that he'll do that he won't even realize he's doing, but they'll be working. It's hard. I was getting getting a bit caught up, but that's like it's hard to say he's a heavyweight champion of the world. But there is still a lot more to come from him. Still a lot more he can improve on.
That's quite scary when you think about it.
He's just learning how, you could see the improvements he's made with his jab, and there's still a lot more to come from that. His jab has improved a whole lot, but there's still a lot more to come from that. And then there's the right hand, which we've only just started scratching the surface with. And if he starts punching correctly with his right hand, he's gonna, they'll be talking about him in the same time as they talk about Wilder with the knockouts he's gonna have.
Do you think people are overlooking Wilder in that third fight? Because there's a lot of calls from fans saying just fight your mandatory and Dylan Whyte and forget this Wilder trilogy. Do you think people are overlooking Deontay?
Well, yeah, I still think the Wilder fight's a much bigger fight in terms of global stature, because Wilder was such a great champion for such a long time. And one loss doesn't make you a bad fighter. Now it was an emphatic loss. It was fairly clean cut, but he will feel he can come back better, and he will be more dangerous. He'll be dangerous this time around because he's like a wounded lion. So Tyson will have to be, and Tyson knows himself. If you listen to him, and I think he believes that Deontay's still a threat. So he wants to finish the job and get the third fight out of the way, and then who knows, Whyte or Joshua, one of the two.
I'm sure you saw the picture of Tyson and Anthony in Marbella. Do you think Tyson would have said something to get in his head?
Yeah, look, I've said this before. Tyson is the best I've ever seen at it, and I don't even know if he consciously does it, or thinks about what he's going to say, but he gets in everyone's head, and I think it's because he simply tells them the truth. He tells them the truth because Tyson has a great boxing mind. He's got a great boxing, like he knows boxing. He's got knowledge, and he'll talk to an opponent, whether it be Klitschko, Chisora, David Haye, and he'll tell them exactly what he's going to do, what they're going to do, and they'll think in the back of their mind, he's actually telling the truth. And there's nothing worse than that. There's nothing worse than that, than you being told exactly how the fight's going to go. So it'll be interesting to see how he does with Joshua, because I feel a lot of time with Joshua, what you get is it's not scripted, but it's like catchphrases that predetermined. Predetermined. He's got a stock answer. So you ask, he'll go on autopilot and give you these answers. So sometimes I think it's hard to get behind the veil and see the real man. But if anyone can do it, it'll be Tyson.
Do you think he'll bring out things from Joshua that we haven't seen before?
Who knows? Yeah, he might bring a bit of nastiness out of him. He might, but that'd be good. That'd be good too. Good. And yeah, it's an incredible fight, isn't it? If it goes ahead, it's so intriguing, and it's really, Dillian Whyte has a lot to say. I think Dillian Whyte's going to be. You can't overlook Dillian Whyte. He's a real fighter, and he's earned his place in the mix now in the top 3 or 4 in terms of who he's beaten, how long he's served. He's really done incredibly well. Coming from not having a huge amateur background and coming in from he was in kickboxing, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Mixed martial arts, and then he's a real fighter. He's a good fighter, good jab, good body shots, and good hook. So yeah, I think Dillian Whyte still has to be reckoned with.
To be fair, he has to come through next week against Povetkin.
Yeah, that's not an easy fight either, but maybe he's just Povetkin's a little bit older now. I don't know, but listen, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, I think whether it's Wilder, Whyte, or Joshua, all 3 fights are massive for Tyson.
Yeah, and if Povetkin wins, it's still a massive fight as well.
Of course. Yeah. Let's move on to Billy Joe Saunders, your former opponent. He ruled himself out a few weeks ago of the Canelo fight. What were your thoughts on his decision?
I know he kind of got slated for it, but look, we were all in lockdown. I don't know. I respect him for pulling out in a certain way, because he had an agreement to fight him, and then, from what I can see from the outside, not knowing the full details, then they tried to renegotiate because it was going to be behind closed doors, and the money wasn't what it should have been. And there's nothing worse when you think you've got a fight, it's done and dusted, you're going to fight, he was in Vegas training, and the next thing you know, they're pulling the rug out from under your feet and saying, no, we have to renegotiate now. And he said, look, I think he stood up for himself and took a moral standpoint and said, I'm not going to take this fight because, not because, and that if he's not going to be ready, he could have took the fight and not been ready, went in there, 80%, lost the fight, and then lived with the regret for the rest of his life. Because of lockdown, people weren't able to train. Me and Paddy haven't been able to train together properly because of lockdown. And it's only starting back now. We're only the last couple of weeks we're only been able to train. So everyone's in their own situation. In some ways, I respect him for not taking the fight, because it would have been easier for him to take the fight, take the money, and not giving his best or showing his best in the fight. I think Billy Joe Saunders at his best will trouble Canelo, and I think he's got the best chance of beating Canelo. And saying that, on the flip side is, it is an opportunity. It's a huge opportunity to fight Canelo, but I don't know. He's not desperate. He's not desperate. Billy Joe Saunders. He's not desperate. He knows he's still a name in the game, and he's still a champion, and he knows he has a certain value, and he wants that value.
Moving on to a topic which is dividing everyone at the moment: Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. having a fight. Thoughts on this?
I don't know. It's an exhibition, isn't it? So I have no problem with it really, because they're 2 old guys. They're gonna make some money. These things have always happened in boxing history. As long as no one gets hurt, as long as they go out there and it doesn't get doesn't get too serious. But I don't know how like you see the videos of Tyson, he's whacking it, but Roy Jones still looks pretty good, you know, on his feet as well. You see videos of Roy Jones. The undercard looks good, but I don't know.
Can you imagine Mike Tyson just doing a few rounds, tapping and moving? No.
I don't know what the motivation for it is. You know, I think when you retire, you get older, you retire, you look back on your career and you think, oh, I wasn't really living right then, or whatever it might be. I wasn't training right then. I could have done this. I could have done that. And you'll always have those. It's such a temptation to think I can go back and do things right now, and you know, but time waits for no man.
Well, Nigel Benn was thinking that, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think like you're always going to have those. What if I had done this right? Because I think I'm not sure when you retire and then I don't know from being a coach like now, and I look back at my career and I think like I never did any of this. Things I'm teaching my fighters or things that I'm telling them to do, I'm thinking like I never did this. You know, like and you think then, oh, if I did this, would it make a difference? But it's just look, time is the unquantifiable thing, and how it affects you, how you live your life in between fights and outside of the ring does take its toll. And look, as long as I'd like to just see them go out there with big gloves on and patter each other around, do whatever it is. What's it, 8 rounds, 6 rounds, or how many rounds?
I actually don't know. No.
And just go the distance, and both of them get their hands raised at the end, and no one gets hurt. That would be the ideal scenario.
Since you retired to this period now, did you ever seriously consider coming back?
No. Never, no. I haven't even sparred since I retired. Yeah, I did 3 weeks of training through lockdown. I thought, maybe I'll do a bit of sparring. Then I thought better of it. No, I'm quite happy to be retired. Because I'm coaching now, I'm still involved, and that's it. Like, I think it's sad when I see fellas from my generation who are still fighting, especially ones who, I can understand the ones who didn't make any money, but the ones who have money and are still fighting, what are you chasing? Like, what are you chasing? Everybody's saying for me, if I become world champion, look, I didn't make millions, but I secured myself. You know what I mean? And I thought, like, what am I chasing here? What am I doing? I've reached the goal. I'm champion of the world. And my family is secure for a while. That's it. Let it go. Like, let it go. It's just part of your life, and it has to end, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Let it go and go out on a high, and like, you know what I mean? Don't get punched around the place and end up walking on your heels and not being able to speak properly.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Now, just before I let you go, you've been in boxing for a long time now. We saw Frank Warren's proposal to Eddie Hearn last week, where he said he wanted to match his best fighters against Eddie's. Do you think that's realistic? Is that going to happen, Andy?
It could happen. Why not? I think there's so many petty things and like one man up shit that it might not happen. You know, but if they can work in good faith, and I don't know, it should happen. Like, the rosters are fairly even. You know, there's someone to match everyone from each side. Like Whyte and Yard, that's a great fight. You know what I mean? And Dillian Whyte, Dubois, that's a Dillian Whyte would say he want to fight Tyson, but I'm sure Tyson would fight both of them. Joshua, and like there are some great matches to be made, and it would be revolutionary, wouldn't it? It would be unbelievable. Like, and it would be a great narrative to sell the fights that you have in like this team boxing, team professional boxing. But who knows? It's
mad to think they've been in boxing so long, Frank and Eddie together, the two leading promoters in the UK, and they only talked to each other last week for the first time.
Mental, isn't it? Yeah.
But at least they talk to each other, so who knows?
It's a start. Yeah, it's a start. And listen, I've talked to both of them, and they're both gentlemen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, listen, you can't make it happen. Get together.
Okay, Andy Lee, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. Best of luck with Paddy.
Thank you very much.
This Saturday night on BT Sport. I'm sure you two are going to have a very successful journey together.
Thank you.